Hey, Julie. Haven't seen you around much lately.
Jeff, I'm trying to study. I have an algebra test next hour.
Sorry.
Kurt, I still don't get these quadratic equations.
Thought you were supposed to be studying.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we're disturbing you, you can move.
Yeah, you're disturbing me. Why are you hanging around with this lowlife? Yeah, Mr. Brains, you know everybody thinks you're a big jerk.
You're the jerk, Jeff. Why don't you just go sit somewhere else?
Do you always do his talking for him?
Jeff, I'm trying to study. Will you please just leave us alone?
Don't tell me what to do, Julie.
I'm not telling you what to do. I just...
Shh. What's going on here?
We're trying
Nothing.
to study,
Just mind
and he
your own
just keeps
business.
on
All right,
bugging
all
us.
right.
All right. Jeff, I think it would be a good idea if you moved to another table.
What if I don't feel like moving?
Jeff, you can either move to another table and leave these two to their studying, or you can serve a detention after school today.
You think I care about your damn threats?
Hey, relax, Jeff. Come on. Stop it.
Is everyone all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Jeff, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'll call the principal. I think he should know about this.
That's a good idea. All right, come on. Let's get back to work. Come on.
Hopefully, incidents like this one don't happen frequently at your school, but whether they occur often or only rarely, they have potentially serious consequences for both you and your school.
Mr. Lewis, can you describe what happened just before you struck the victim?
But I didn't strike Jeff. He's the one who came after me. I was just trying to...
Mr. Lewis, several witnesses reported that you pushed this young man to the ground. Now, what prompted you to physically abuse one of your own students?
Now, that's not what happened. It's all in my incident report.
But your own report lists only one witness, a teacher who entered the room after Jeff Coulter was assaulted. I have numerous statements from students who saw you strike Mr. Coulter. Again, I must ask you, what precipitated such an aggressive response on your part?
The need for good documentation is becoming increasingly important in every human service field, and education is no exception. Serious situations are occurring more and more frequently, including violent incidents such as those involving weapons. Along with concerns about acts of violence, there are also growing concerns about the potential for litigation. These two issues have made proper documentation at schools more important than ever. Good documentation alone is not a guarantee against a possible lawsuit, but it is one of the best ways that you can protect yourself and your school. If your policies and procedures are consistent with the professional standards of the field of education, and if those policies and procedures are backed up by good documentation, they will usually be defendable in court. But just what is good documentation? This program will answer that question by teaching you how to develop a documentation plan for your school, what should be documented and why, and how to write a clear, organized, and objective incident report. Good documentation starts with a plan. This plan should be part of your school's policies and procedures, and it should include 5 key components. The first and most important part of your documentation plan is to determine what your school defines as an incident. Teachers and other school employees must know what to document. What is an incident requiring documentation at your school? Is the definition written down? If each person uses their own judgment about what should be documented, seemingly insignificant incidents will undoubtedly be overlooked and not documented at all. And those very incidents may be the ones which are called into question months or even years later. For the purposes of this program, we're going to use the following definition of an incident. Any out-of-the-ordinary occurrence that results in injury, property loss, or damage, use of physical force or restraint involving employees, students, or visitors on school grounds, or at any school-sponsored activity. A lost watch, a fall on the playground, a fight between 2 students, a weapon drawn in a classroom. Depending on your school's definition, any or all of these could be incidents requiring documentation. In addition to defining the term incident, the documentation plan must also designate the key players. The documentation plan needs to spell out who does what after an incident occurs. Who should be notified immediately? Who secures evidence? Who interviews witnesses? Who writes the incident report? A documentation plan should also include an incident report form that simplifies the process of documenting an incident. Many people don't like to write, and a blank sheet of paper can be very intimidating. Develop a report form that cues staff as to the information that should be included. Consider using checkoff boxes wherever possible. The next step in your documentation plan is to determine who should receive the completed incident report. Copies of the report should be filed with designated staff members who will ensure that the final step of the documentation plan is carried out. Writing a report does little good if it is simply filed away in someone's desk drawer. Your documentation plan should describe follow-up procedures. How will the incident report be used to improve performance, safety, and services within your school? As we said, the first step in your documentation plan is to define the term incident. Once you've recognized that an incident has taken place, you need to write your report. But now we come to one of the biggest roadblocks to writing a complete and accurate incident report: our own memory. Even if we sit down to write a report right after an incident occurred, our memory of that incident may be distorted. Our brains are not video cameras that record everything they see, nor are they computers with perfect recall. In our opening scenario, the teacher documented the incident in a way which he thought was appropriate to the event. He probably never imagined that he would be in court one day faced with an attorney whose tactics may be intimidating. Court cases often surface months or even years after an incident occurs. Reports written immediately following the incident are crucial to reconstructing the event as accurately as possible. Statements from witnesses are a critical part of those reports. Mr. Lewis assumed that witnesses would be able to back up his account of the incident, but often that is not the case.
He walked over and just started bugging Jeff. Next thing you know, Mr. Lewis shoves him and he goes flying. I'm not surprised Jeff got hurt. He really hit the floor hard.
One of the most common roadblocks to accurate memory recall is post-incident information. Post-incident information is new information you learn after an incident occurs, which can become part of your own memory of the event. You may pick up post-incident information from other witnesses or from something you hear or read about the incident. For example, let's go back and look at the incident from the witness's perspective. Dennis was sleeping when the incident began. He wasn't aware of what was happening until the books fell to the floor, making a loud noise. The student sitting at Dennis's table then described for him what she saw, including the part of the incident that Dennis slept through. By the time he got to court, Dennis was unable to distinguish between the statements made by the other student and his own observations. It was as if it had all become part of his direct experience. It's important to understand that Dennis did not deliberately lie on the witness stand. He honestly believes that he witnessed the events he's described. This is post-incident information. This information can be dangerous because it's often given as eyewitness testimony, even though it may not be accurate.
It was just a little misunderstanding. We're always being told to try and work these things out ourselves, and that's just what we were doing. I had things with Jeff under control. There was no need for Mr. Lewis to get involved. He turned a little disagreement into a fight.
This witness has succumbed to something called purposeful forgetting. Remembering our own actions in a more favorable light probably happens to all of us, although we're not aware of it. Just as a person involved in a traumatic event may suppress that memory, we may suppress or alter memories of events that don't paint a flattering picture of us. Kurt may feel he should have spoken up during Julie's exchange with Jeff, so without realizing it, he has changed his memory of the event to make himself look better.
It seemed like Mr. Lewis had it in for Jeff right from the beginning. He told Jeff to find someplace else to study before he even heard Jeff's side of the story. He was just looking for an excuse to push Jeff around.
Susan probably isn't aware of it, but her own feelings about Jeff have undoubtedly affected the way she viewed this incident. Expectations and personal biases are like a filter through which we view events. Often we see what we want and expect to see. It's just as likely that your own biases about people's gender, race, age, or disability will affect what you think you saw during an incident.
It all happened so fast. I remember arguing with Jeff, 'cause he was jealous because I was studying with Kurt. Then Mr. Lewis came in to see what was wrong. The rest is kind of a blur. Next thing I remember is Jeff was lying on the floor.
When an incident occurs, not all details are recorded with equal accuracy, especially if violence is involved. Violence produces fear and stress. The high levels of stress affect our perception of an event and therefore interfere with our recall. When a weapon is involved, perceptions can be altered even more significantly. The witness's attention naturally focuses on the weapon, and other details are often lost. Julie was already under considerable stress before Mr. Lewis became involved in her confrontation with Jeff, and her high stress level affected her perceptions. Remember, too, that this incident, like most incidents, was over in a matter of seconds. The less time we have to take in an event, the more limited our perceptions of the event will be. When you consider all the factors that can affect the perception and recall of witnesses, it may seem impossible to come up with a complete and accurate picture of what took place. Fortunately, if you have a thorough documentation plan and you follow the steps outlined in that plan, you can go a long way toward obtaining a complete picture of an incident. The first thing you need to do after an incident is over, even before you interview witnesses or write an incident report, is to complete a postvention assessment. A postvention assessment begins by making sure that the situation is under control and the incident is over. Second, assess the condition of everyone involved. Third, even if you did not cause the event to occur, you may be obligated to provide due care after an incident occurs. Due care is a general duty of care owed to everyone involved in an incident, regardless of their role. Due care includes administering first aid up to your level of expertise, or summoning medical personnel or an ambulance if necessary. The final step in your postvention assessment is to decide if there is a need to call security staff or police. The policies in your school's documentation plan should specify under which circumstances the police should be notified. If the police become involved, they will probably take responsibility for tasks such as securing evidence and interviewing witnesses. If the police are not involved, your documentation plan should include procedures as to who should conduct interviews with witnesses and participants. Research has shown that the most accurate and complete information is obtained from witnesses when they are interviewed by someone who has status and credibility. Whoever assumes this important responsibility should be trained to do so. The way in which witnesses are questioned can affect the information that is obtained. Here are some key points to keep in mind. Once the area is secure and due care has been provided, documentation can begin. Identify yourself to those involved and get the full name, address, and phone number of all witnesses and participants. Write down the name of anyone who is in the vicinity of the incident but claims not to have seen anything. Non-observers often become observers. People begin to forget the details of an incident as soon as it is over. By interviewing witnesses as soon as possible, you will obtain more accurate and complete information. You will also lessen the chance that they have talked with others and that post-incident information will taint their recall. Be sure to ask witnesses and participants where they were during the incident. You can do this by interviewing them at the scene of the incident so that they can point out their exact location, or by using a diagram of the area where the incident took place. Begin your interview by asking the person for a narrative statement, such as, "Tell me what happened." resist the temptation to ask clarifying questions until the person has told their story all the way through. Listen carefully. Give the person nonverbal cues that he has your undivided attention. Nod your head, make eye contact. Try to convey a non-judgmental attitude. After the narrative account from the witness, ask specific follow-up questions to clarify their account of the incident. Try to avoid questions which can be answered with a yes or no. Also, avoid leading questions or questions which are judgmental or hostile. Write a statement based on the witness's account. After the witness has reviewed the statement for completeness and accuracy, ask them to sign and date it. This statement, taken immediately after the incident occurred, will help safeguard against the person changing their story later. As we stated earlier, your school's documentation plan should spell out who is responsible for conducting interviews and writing incident reports. Most commonly, students and visitors will be interviewed and asked to sign a statement, which has been written by their interviewer. Staff members, on the other hand, are usually asked to document their accounts in incident reports. Here are the key points to keep in mind when writing an incident report. Begin by listing the basic facts of the incident in chronological order. Answer questions like who, what, when, where, and how. As part of your basic facts, include all attempts you've made to intervene in the situation, both verbal and physical. Be objective. Avoid personal commentary about why the incident occurred. Make a distinction between personal knowledge of the incident and what you have learned from others. Stick to the facts. Don't try to blame or protect others. Tell the truth. Besides the moral and ethical issues of lying, a lie is almost impossible to maintain and usually makes matters worse. It may be disputed by witnesses and you could lose your credibility, your professional position, and be criminally prosecuted. A cover-up amongst a group of staff members or others is even more likely to be discovered. As you write your report, distinguish facts from assumptions. Do not try to label a person's mental or emotional state. Stating an opinion may be permissible, but only if you identify it as such. If you draw a conclusion, back it up with facts. If a person appeared angry or depressed or intoxicated, describe the behavior or other signs that led you to that conclusion. Direct quotes are also helpful in demonstrating a person's state of mind. Use everyday language. If your report was read to a jury, would they know what you're talking about? Avoid specialized terminology and acronyms, which will be unclear to anyone outside the educational field. Never use profane or obscene language unless it's part of a direct quote from a participant in the event. After you complete a first draft of your report, double-check it for accuracy and errors. Make sure your final copy is free from typographical errors, erasures, or mistakes in spelling, grammar, or punctuation. Not only can such errors change the intended meaning of your report, but they also reflect poorly on the professionalism and credibility of what you've written. To further strengthen your report, you may want to photograph the area of the incident. Also, photograph any objects or evidence that may have been involved. Weapons and damaged property should be moved to a secure storage area and properly labeled. After you've completed your incident report, turn it in to your supervisor and anyone else designated in your school's documentation plan. Your supervisor will probably evaluate your report, note questions or discrepancies, and write a separate summary based on all the statements and reports which have been obtained. Let's talk for a moment about lawsuits. Many cases are taken by attorneys on a contingency basis, meaning they get paid only if a monetary judgment is paid to their client. Their decision to accept or decline a case is partly based on the quality of the documentation. If there is no documentation, or if the documentation is sloppy, incomplete, or confusing, the plaintiff's case could be much stronger than if the case were documented properly. In other words, attorneys often base their decisions about whether or not to proceed with a liability case upon the quality of the documentation. Now that we've reviewed the basics of good documentation, we're going to give you a chance to try out your skills. Watch the following scenarios carefully. After each incident, the screen will fade to black. That will be your cue to stop the tape and document the incident you've just seen. Use your school's incident report form to write your report.
Damn it, I can't believe she would say something like that about me. What is she
calm
have to
down
do with-
now.
Hey, I can't believe it. You don't understand what
Hey, have you studied for that Spanish test yet?
No. Actually, I was thinking we could do it this weekend. Tonight,
Hey!
if you...
What do you think you're doing?
Nothing, man.
How come every time I turn around, you're sitting here talking to my girlfriend?
Larry!
I guess she likes me better.
Yeah, I don't think so. Why don't you back off?
Back off!
They're fighting. They're fighting.
Hey, where are you guys supposed to be? Well, it's lunchtime. Aren't you supposed to be in the cafeteria?
Man, you know the food in there sucks.
It's the worst.
I don't see you eating it.
What you think of the food isn't the point.
Well, we weren't going to eat anyway.
Fine, but you know what your choices are. You can either spend your lunch break in the cafeteria, or in the recreation room, or outside. But there is a rule against hanging around in the hallways.
I never heard of a rule about hanging around the hallway. What we do is just stand around talking.
Dave, you know there's a rule against smoking in the building.
Yeah? So? What are you gonna do about it?
You know the rules, Dave. Rules? Now please, put out your cigarette.
Why don't you come over here and put it out for me, all right?
Dave, you have two choices here.
Man, I'm so sick of your damn choices. You know, there's always some stupid rule that we're supposed to care about, and I just don't care, all right?
That's right.
All right, okay, just so you know, the consequences for hanging around here will be the same as if you were doing the yelling. So come on, let's get going. Damn rules. All right.
Everything I hear, every time I turn a corner, you're standing there staring at me!
Then go to the meeting and kiss them out.
Get out!
Hey, Greg, let's go. Get dressed for class. Everybody's out there. There's something wrong, Greg?
Leave me alone.
Greg.
Get out of my face.
Hey, lower your
Go
voice.
bother somebody else. I don't feel like going.
Look, you get dressed for class now and get to the gym. If you're not out there in 3 minutes, I'll come back in here and drag you out.
Oh, yeah? Touch me, I'll sue you!
Well, how did you do? We hope that this videotape program will help you write more complete and accurate incident reports. Reports that reflect positively on your professionalism and on your school's commitment to improving safety and performance. As you've seen, proper documentation and incident reports are a necessary and important part of your job as an educator. Although they may seem like tedious and unpleasant paperwork, they enable teachers and other education professionals to defend themselves successfully in potentially litigious situations. Good documentation is an excellent way for you and your school to demonstrate professionalism and a commitment to providing for everyone's care, welfare, safety, and security.
Mr. Lewis, is your written account of this incident accurate and complete?
Yes, it happened just as I described in my incident report last year.